we've been talking a lot about cancel culture going too far, but here's an interesting case for you. Over the weekend, conservative commentator Jesse Kelly sent some tweets basically trolling liberals at Yale University. He tweeted, quote, "Yale University was named for Elihu Yale, not just a man who had slaves, an actual slave trader. I call on Yale to change its name immediately and strip the name Yale from every building, piece of paper, and merchandise. Otherwise, they hate black people. Hashtag cancel Yale." Well, his tweet gained a lot of attention. So the question is now, should Yale change its name? Joining us now is Trish Regan, political and economic commentator. Trish, welcome back.
Good to see you, Lindsay.
All right, well, this has actually gained a lot of traction. 66,000 people liking it, over 30,000 people now retweeting it. I think the question is, will Yale actually do this, and should they?
I think they have to, right? I mean, put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. I mean, this is a university that has really gone to great lengths to be politically correct. So if you're going to continue in the spirit of that, you know, you ought to be able to change the name of the university, I would think, right? I mean, of course, what's amusing about all of this, right, is that Jesse pointed this out, because I'm sure this is the last thing that they thought of or want to think of right now, but they're getting a little bit of a taste of their own medicine.
I think that's just it. They definitely are. And they've changed some of the names of their smaller schools, but actually changing the entire name, I just think of graduates who've been there. It's, you know, the school formerly known as Yale. That's where I went. What would they change it to? Because at this point, it's almost every name has some kind of maybe issue tied to it. It kind of goes down a slippery slope.
I think this is what he's pointing out.
If you've paid like 80 grand or whatever it costs a year to go to Yale, and then they changed the name to, like, you know, Western Connecticut State, you're screwed. I mean, the idea that you paid all that money for a Yale education, man, you aren't that smart then, I guess. Hey, Trish, let me shift gears for a second. I showed this to the viewers at the beginning of the show. Yesterday, Andrea Mitchell from NBC News was doing a piece with D.C.'s non-voting delegate, Eleanor Holmes Norton, outside the in the street there. And I don't know what they were talking about, but a protester kind of ran up and tried to attack them. Let me see if I can show it again to everybody. But there's that individual. They run up. You can see the security person that I think Andrea Mitchell had with them kind of pushes them aside. But the kicker in the whole thing is that if you kind of hear the audio at the end of it, Delegate Holmes says that she wants to know, you know, where the police are. And this is a woman who has talked about defunding the police. There's such an irony that all of these folks want to talk about defunding the police until they need the police.
Yeah, because they don't really mean it, right? They're talking in big theory here, but when it actually affects them on an individual level, they start to think about it really differently, Sean. I mean, and that's the hypocrisy of it all. Look, we need the police. I'm sorry, but you don't have an economy without the police. You don't have a civilization, right, without some ability to enforce the rules, and that's where the police are so needed. And so this defund movement, in and of itself, the language of it is so brazen and so wrong. I mean, they could have thought of perhaps a different way of packaging it. You know, remake the police even would sound better than defund the police, because defund the police makes absolutely no sense. And this woman is proof of it.
Yeah, but the thing that's so fascinating, to your point, on the right, all the folks in the news media try to read into every word and say, well, what they meant was, and what this really means. They're always trying to pull these meanings out. But when the left says defund the police, you see all these folks on other networks, not to be named, that talks about, well, they really don't mean defund them. It's like they can't, like, let them speak for themselves. You're right, because they should, if they don't want to call it defund, they can call it remake, redo the police. But they don't want to say the word because they want to have it both ways. And they've got the media helping them out to shape this whole narrative.
Every step of the way, the mainstream media is there, helping them along, really, you know, trying to justify each and every one of their moves. In this case, they're saying, well, they really mean this. Well, if they really mean that, just say it, okay? Tell us what you mean, which is why, you know, bringing it full circle, again, back to the hypocrisy of Yale, again, if you really believe in what you're spouting, you ought to be willing to make the change to your university name. Or if you mean defund the police, then you mean defund the police. Don't ask us where the police are when you need them.
Maybe they can all go to Yale. Anyway, all right. Well, we're going to have a lot more fun with this. It never ceases to amaze me how it keeps coming up. So thank you for joining us today, and I'm sure we're going to have plenty more to talk about when we see you next.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks, Trish. All right, well, coming up, the madness continues as protesters want to take down a statue of Abraham Lincoln. I thought he was the good guy in all of this. Our company discusses next.